Okay, good morning and welcome to Table Enabled as part of Yeshiva YouTube. Today we're doing Orach Chaim Sadi Gimel, number 93. Kodem Sheyispal Sarach Lishos. This is a halacha, a little strange halacha. Before you daven, you have to wait. How much time do you have to wait? Let's see. Aleph. Yesha Sha'achas Kodem Sheyakum Lispalel. Kdei Shechav Lim Makom. This is the beginning of the parak. Ein Omdim Lispalel. The fourth parak, or the fifth parak, and the fifth parak in Maseches Brachos, you're supposed to wait a shah. Now, some say a shah means a minute, but it's clear the Mishnah Berurah says a shah means an hour. An hour before you daven, an hour after you daven. Right? They say an hour before davening to prepare yourself. Why an hour after davening? Because you went to such a high place, you have to come back down to real life. So the Shulchan Aruch says, some say the reason is just a high level. He says the reason is if you go back to your worldly, mundane things, it seems like you're treating tefillah as a burden. Beis lo yamal yispalel. We're gonna have to explain halacha aleph and Ian to lean on because it doesn't make much sense. No one really theoretically waits an hour to daven, and you spend 3 hours of your day davening. You have no time to do anything else. Beis lo yamal yispalel al be'ema v'achna. You should daven when you're in a state of humility and fearfulness. Lo mitach schok, to exclude what? You shouldn't be laughing before you davening. The kalas rosh. You shouldn't be have levity. V'dvarim b'teilim. Lo mitach kas. You shouldn't be angry. Lo mitach simcha. You should start davening in a state of simcha. How do you get the simcha? Go on divrei tanchum shal Torah. You're saying words of the Torah. You're learning. Some gulas mitzrayim. You're talking about the mitzvah of gulas mitzrayim. Some David, right? And Shachris you talk about, and Shachris and Marav, you talk about the gula, smichas gula tefillah, or some tefillah David. In Mincha, you say Ashrei, shkas baroton yara aviyasa. You talk about, tefillahs that talk about great things, tefillahs that make you happy, or Torah that makes you happy. Shomer Hashem is kol avav, right? You say at the end of Ashrei, Hashem protects everyone who loves him. So it's Torah shel tanchum, it's simcha. Learning Torah is great; it brings you simcha, but also it has to be Torah of comfort, right? That you feel secure in Hashem, because you're about to ask Hashem for your needs. Gimel, you shouldn't be involved. You're a dayan. You shouldn't render a judgment and then daven right away. You shouldn't, if you're someone who's learning Shulchan Aruch, right? I'm learning Shulchan Aruch. Sure, don't go and daven right away. Because a lot of times when you're thinking about halacha, you think about afterwards, did I make the right decision in the judgment, or did I make the right psak halacha? A lot of people learn BE, and also they're thinking afterwards, I say the right chiddush or not. You should, after learning halacha psuka, I give you halacha psuka, I give you pretty clear. So maybe after my share, it's a clear halacha. You're not going to think about it afterwards. You could daven right away. Halacha psuka, even though we said you're supposed to be in a state of happiness, halacha psuka, a clear halacha, there's no machlokas about it. So that makes sure it gladdens your heart, like Torah. This is our Yerushalmi, a little ambiguous. It says if you're someone who's an askan, someone who's a public official, a politician, you work for a politician, it's like you're engaged in learning Torah, and you can start davening. The explanation, the first explanation of the Shulchan Aruch is that it's like learning is that even though you were talking to Eric Adams about policies for Brooklyn, for Borough Park, for the housing crisis in Borough Park, you could start davening. You go to Minchamin, you go to Shomer Shabbos, right, and daven. Shekamzu simcha hilo. It's also a simcha for him, like learning. She'osik b'sarach yisibor, learning public advocacy. They're both simchas. V'yeshim farshim dahainu l'en ye'eno starach livsok li'espalel. The Torah gives a different explanation of this Yerushalmi. In what respect is public advocacy like learning Torah? Is that just like you're in the middle of learning Torah, you're going to miss the Zman Tefillah. We'll see if you're Talmud Turaso Naso. So also if you're engaged in public advocacy, which is very important, right, pressing the community, you don't have to daven. You can miss Zman Tefillah if you're in the middle of something important. This second explanation is the preferred explanation in the Mishnah Berurah of the Poskim. That's the conclusion of today's share. Stay tuned for Ian to lean on, and we'll talk about Halacha Aleph, seemingly something people are probably incapable of doing. An hour before Tefillah, the Gemara says also an hour of Tefillah. Some people actually do that an hour of tefillah, but an hour after tefillah also, that's 3 hours for every tefillah, 9 hours a day. You have no time to do anything else. No one follows this halacha. What does it really mean? Coming up, Ian to Leon, coming up next.